All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome to a brand new Poker Life podcast live stream. My name's Joey, number one, aka Chicago Joey. Today, we're joined by a guy who I've seen a lot of him on Twitter. He seems to be very, very active on Twitter. He seems to be one of the more entertaining people in poker on Twitter. He started this new, I don't know if it's like a lifestyle or a motto, hashtag GFY. What does GFY stand for, Matt? Go fuck yourself? Is that what it stands for?
Stand for go fuck yourself, or good for you, depending on the interpretation you make. Most of it's go fuck yourself. Yeah.
All right, because I wasn't sure, because I wanted to start using it in my own day-to-day lingo when I was just talking to people in normal life, but I wasn't sure if the proper way to be using GFY. So I'm hoping to use this time to sort of like get familiar with the term and I guess learn how to use it when I'm talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, GFY. All right, so if you guys don't know Matt's been, you've been playing poker for a pretty long time, right, Matt?
Yeah, I started playing like in 2003.
Yeah, that's he's been playing for about 12 years.
I didn't play like big tournaments until like 2011, I'd say.
Oh, so what were you? Were you like more of a recreational player from 2003 until 2011?
Yeah, I played like in LA a lot, like Commerce and the Bike and those kinds of things, like $300 to $500 tournaments, and honed my skills against donkeys. And then I took a shot in 2011, upping the stakes, and I had a good run.
So have you ever won a WPT?
I won. I won the one in Paris, actually. Yeah, right here, the little trophy. Yeah. I'm a WPT champion, and it was a sick experience to just crush a bunch of souls.
Have you ever written or produced for any TV shows potentially?
Yeah. The show Weeds right here, I was an executive producer writer on for like 8 years. Yeah.
I wish you had more things on the table so I could just sort of like you just like said it. You're helping me. You're making my podcasting easy because now you're just like giving me things to ask about.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like, I don't know, I've got a book here. Hold on.
Tim F says, when you look up degenerate in the dictionary, this guy's face pops up.
I honed my skills with this book here, Gambling for Dummies. Let me swap out this chair here. Very underrated book as far as poker instruction is concerned, just so you know.
Can you tell us one or two things this book might have taught you that sort of led you to be a WPT champion?
Yeah, like basically like concealing your face is really, really important in poker. So, in all interviews, actually, everything, like you just kind of want to put the hoodie up, throw on some glasses, give off, wow, did you just disappear?
No, I'm trying to get my setup going on here. You're giving me tips. I'm trying to learn. Hold on. Where the hell
all right.
I can't find them. I'm trying to find my glasses and hoodie because I want to try this strategy that you're talking about. I want to see if it works from a podcasting perspective.
You really kind of need to instill fear into your opponents. Like internet players, they go by math. But like, I spent 8 years playing with like Armenians and Asian guys in Commerce and the Bike. And really the whole key to poker, to live poker, is fear. Just making sure that, you keep them on edge and so forth. Like your cards don't even matter. That's what Gambling for Dummies really taught me. Like it doesn't matter what you have. Poker is a game of intimidation.
So I'm thinking you don't play online with this strategy very much, do you?
I mean, online is rigged, so it's kind of hard to do that anyway. Yeah.
I think so. Have you witnessed the rigging from online poker firsthand?
Yeah, pretty much the runouts are geared to keep the fish alive. So that way, the good players keep reloading because they get bad beats and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty obvious. I spent a lot of years studying this stuff.
What was the way you studied this to figure out that, I guess, how did you come to the conclusion that it was rigged in this way?
Just empirical data, evidence. I'm kind of like, I sort of have Asperger's. And so I can detect patterns very well. So I see these things and, the math doesn't lie.
Interesting. I guess, well, we had Kate Hall on the podcast yesterday, and she was very big into, acquiring data to figure out what to do in situations. So it sounded like that's the approach that you took with online poker. You accumulated a bunch of data, you broke it down, you identified patterns that were going, that were making it seem like it was rigged, and then you decided you don't want to play online poker. Is that what happened? And then you started focusing on live poker?
I mean, I sort of do both, just to keep amassing data, because poker is really just all, there's a lot of data you need to amass, but really live poker it's more fun. It's really, like I said, the cards don't matter. You just intimidate people, you scare them into folds. It's pretty simple.
So what's your go-to? What are some of your go-to strategies that you use when you're playing live poker with the Armenians or the Asians in the home games or at the Commerce?
I don't really like to give away too much strategy, truthfully. I feel like there's a lot of people watching this and it would be counterproductive for me to do that. Like, you've got all these people that are like writing books on poker, that coach, do training videos. And I'm like, it feels like it should be a level. I mean, it's very counterproductive.
Yes,
I mean, it's borderline insane when you think about it. Like,
that's exactly what I've been saying for like the past 2 to 3 years. Anytime someone comes on that does videos or does coaching, I'm like, you realize what you guys do is fucking insane. That, like, why would you work hard for 7 years to get really good at poker, and then you're just like, here, hey, sit down, man. Let me fucking tell you how to do it. And then they just
like, why are these people sharing secrets? Like, because their egos probably, they want to look smart and feel smart, but ultimately it's like to their detriment.
Yeah, I think from what it seems like,
everybody's getting really good at poker now. Why? It's because people, they put out too much literature on it. People go into the commentary booth, they start talking strategies, they start coaching people. Even at the table, I see guys at the table constantly like correcting people that are making mistakes, like on bad decisions. And I'm like, do you understand the point of this game is to beat the players and keep them bad and dumb? So, I don't know. I feel like a lot of poker players just kind of want to have their ego stroked and so forth.
Yeah, I think it seems like from talking to people that do coaching or do videos, it's sort of like their version of giving back to the community. So they feel like they've taken information from videos or from the forums, and then they want to sort of help other people out the same way they felt like they were helped out. And I mean, I guess it makes some sense, but I don't know if I agree with it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's right.
It seems like in the tournament world there's a lot of these random coaching sites and training sites, and everyone coaches the tournament. The tournament, are there a lot of coaches in the tournament world? Am I just imagining this?
No, there are. Like, I mean, people do private coaching. People, write a lot of books, and I don't know, it just seems very counterproductive. And I know players need to like make money in other ways, but ultimately, probably if you look at like educating the novices, is probably ultimately long-term bad for the game. Like, I think we should start coaching sites that teach the opposite. Like, just really start leveling and taking this to a whole different level. Yeah.
So I've had this idea for a while where I play mainly PLO. I would make PLO videos that basically did exactly that. Like, just put all this misinformation sort of thing out there. That sounds believable, but it actually might be bad. So, but
no, it's not bad. Genius. You're a fucking genius, bro. Like, seriously, all these guys, are just like putting out information and making the game harder and harder. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Poker's a game of liars and cheaters. Let's be honest. It's not a game for the educational. This is like, it's too much gentlemanness going on in poker too lately. I feel like.
What do you mean? In what way?
I mean, like, everybody was all up in arms in the World Series about this guy that was potentially cheating. Heads up. You remember that?
Yeah, there was some like Eastern European guy or something like that. I don't know his name though.
God bless this guy. This guy is, this is a guy who's respecting the game of poker. Okay? This is a guy, poker was, built on scumbags. I mean, let's be honest here, right? Like, it's too nice here.
I agree that.
Even, like, people that, like, are, borrowing money and not paying back and, all of a sudden they're outed on Twitter and 2+2. I mean, come on. Poker's a game of stiffers. Let's be honest. You're the idiot for lending somebody money.
I completely agree. I didn't know you were going to start saying all these things that I completely agree with here, man. This is but while poker is a game, I would agree with you completely on that. Actually, it always amazes me how outraged the community, like on 2+2, get when something like the Brian Hastings things happen or these other things happen. Like, they get so outraged, they can't believe these things are happening, and it's just like, no, dude, this is how the world is.
Hastings is a hero, as far as I'm concerned. Hastings loves it so much, he just, like, couldn't help himself. He had to play. He had to do this multi-account. He had to VPN. Who loves it more, Like, you're there to win. You're there to play. If he couldn't make it out of the country for whatever reason, he did what he had to do.
Yeah, I think he couldn't make it out of the country because he's in love with a nice young mixed girl, and she was taking his time.
Mixed games?
He's in love with a mixed girl, not a mixed game. Well, he likes the mixed games, I believe, too, but he especially loves the mixed girls.
Okay. Mixed race, right.
Mixed race. Okay, so I think, did we do an intro? I guess we did an introduction. So you've been playing tournaments you've been playing poker for about, since 2003. You've been, obviously you were a producer and a writer for is that the biggest accomplishment you have in that industry, is working with the Weeds for 8 years?
Yeah, that was the longest gig that I had. It was like 8 years. It was very rewarding because we were like, one of the first shows to really sort of on premium cable sort of tell a serialized story over the course of like 8 seasons, and that was just really fun to do. A lot of us came from like network sitcom backgrounds, and then to all of a sudden get on TV and like start being able to do like sort of, I don't want to say vulgar material, but just sort of edgy material. Was actually really liberating and fun, and that was like the best gig that I've had. I was on Entourage in season 1, but just very briefly. I had literally very little to do with the show. I sold some stories to Curb Your Enthusiasm that got made, which was cool. That was like, as far as like why I got into TV, like Seinfeld was the show that sort of got me to start writing television, and I never got a chance to write on that show. And then Curb Your Enthusiasm, like my agent was friendly with Larry David, and he sort of suggested that I had some good ideas for the show. So then I met with Larry, and he bought a bunch of ideas off me. So that was really rewarding. It didn't pay shit, but it was definitely like, I was one of the few people in LA to actually do that. So I feel grateful for that. That was like, even though, I technically wasn't a writer producer on the show, just to have him, because he's such a legend, having, done a couple things that I pitched him, was very proud.
So you actually got to be in a room with Larry David and pitch him your ideas for the show?
Yeah. It was kind of a crazy story. I'm not being sarcastic, by the way. I know I'm joking around here a lot and being sarcastic, but I was fortunate where I had written a writing sample of Curb Your Enthusiasm as a spec script. Like, to break in Hollywood, you kind of need to write samples of existing shows. And so I'd written a bunch of samples, Seinfeld, Frasier, The Simpsons, that type of thing. But like, I wasn't really getting that far. I mean, I got some credits based on those, but I really wanted to break into like, primetime TV. So I wrote a Curb spec after season 1 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And that script got me signed at a big agency and kind of got a lot of attention sort of in the community. And that opened the door then to Larry, hearing ideas from me. And that was very special.
I mean, especially if you got into the industry because of Seinfeld and then Larry David's like, hey, come pitch your show here. That's like fucking sick.
Yeah. That was like literally like, and it was a crazy story that happened. I wrote up like 7 ideas and I sent it to him like on a Friday, and the Golden Globes were on a Sunday, and he was nominated. It was right after season 1 of Curb. He was nominated for a Golden Globe. He wins a Golden Globe. So I'm watching the Golden Globes on Sunday night. And literally on Monday morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings and I'm like, hello. And he's like, hey, Matt, it's Larry David. And I loved your ideas. They're really funny. Let's talk about this one. And I literally was convinced somebody was fucking with me. Like, it was my agent was like messing around with me, because it was like the morning after the Golden Globes. He just won. So I really didn't believe it. But as he kept talking, I'm like, wow, this is like too good of an impersonation. And then I slowly start realizing that it's him. And I mean, I don't want to say I almost shit my pants, but like I got really nervous all of a sudden. Like I'm on the horn with Larry David talking about the ideas that I like pitched him. And it was very surreal. And he really liked a couple of them, and then said to me, like, if you have any more ideas, come in, we'll meet. Well, we can talk about them. So then sure enough, I hung up the phone, and my agent was like calling me on the other line, trying to warn me that Larry was going to call. Like that was sort of what tipped it off too. And anyway, it was very cool. Like I went to meet him. He's so down to earth, so nice. Like, you think of him from the show, but he's really not like that. That's sort of like, the prick version of him. But that was like among the coolest things that happened to me.
Damn, that's crazy. So how many stories did he end up using on the show that you came up with? 3.
And they were all kind of in various like versions of different episodes. Like one was kind of more of a whole storyline. One was like a B story, and then one was literally just a bit that he is like that was in a scene. And then what was cool actually was one of my original pitches to him was that he starts using prostitutes for the carpooling. Like he picks up hookers in LA, and then drops them off to use the carpooling. And when I pitched him that, he goes, you won't believe it, but I just finished writing an outline for an episode where I use, I pitched homeless people, that he uses homeless people. And he goes, I just finished one where I use a prostitute for the carpooling. So he's like, we were totally on the same page there. So that sort of was a cool thing too, where even though he didn't buy that, the fact that our minds were sort of thinking alike was very, very special.
Like what's like the strategy going into something like that? So obviously he calls you up and he tells you what you're thinking, and you're just like, holy fuck, like, okay, like, is there some sort of strategy when you go into a meeting with him, or is it just, this is what I got, how do you deliver? Like, how does that work?
I mean, you just kind of go in and like, you think of ideas, as a writer, like I kind of know which ideas are like better than others typically, but you never know like what might spark to him if like you throw something out. Like actually I had an idea that I couldn't figure out how to crack. Actually, it was basically the notion of the show Survivor and Holocaust survivors. And is there some way to like have some kind of confusing thing that happens on this front, which was one of my thoughts. And I don't remember if I pitched it to him or not, but then he actually did one where he had like that exact same thing. But he cracked it. He made it like genius. And I was like, wow, that was, I had an idea, a kernel of an idea there that I couldn't figure out how to quite, make it work, but he nailed it.
So after that, have you ever worked with him since then? Or was that just like that happened? So, I mean, it seems like that's the beginning of your career sort of thing, right?
Yeah, I didn't end up doing any more. Like he paid really kind of very small because the show doesn't have a writer's budget. And so he had to sort of pay me as like a consultant, like a creative consultant type of thing. And since the show doesn't like have a writing budget, he got away, like they sort of get away with like paying you less than the Writers Guild minimum would for like a story. So it just kind of wasn't conducive to doing more, just because I'm like, well, I'm giving him away these ideas for not that much money, and I have it on my resume. I got to work with him, but now sometimes these ideas might come in handy for anything that I write myself. So I'd rather just keep them to myself, kind of thing.
So after that, you start doing stuff with Entourage, or was there anything else in between there that you sort of went with? Like, what was the progression from that into Weeds?
I'm trying to think. I think I did Entourage after that. I had done a couple sitcoms that sort of came and went, like 3 of them. One was on NBC that never actually aired. We made like 6 episodes and then they didn't even air them. It was with Jason Bateman and Nikki Cox. It was called The Jake Effect.
It never aired.
It's fucking the most demoralizing thing to like be working on a show. You finish 6 episodes and then the head of the network just calls and says, okay, you're done. We may burn them off in the summer, which is literally code for this show is never getting on the air. So that totally sucked. Then I was on a show called The Stones, which was a CBS sitcom, which after episode 9 of a 12-episode order, they decided to cut us off at 9, which was not a good sign. They ended up airing the show, but they pulled it after 3 episodes. That was with Robert Klein and Judith Light. And it was created by Genji Cohen, who created Weeds. That's how I knew Genji, and so then when Weeds started up, she wanted to bring me on because we had a good relationship from having worked on the Stones together. And then after season 1 of Weeds, between season 1 and 2, like we had no idea if the show would catch on, if it would be popular. So I took a gig on a show called The War at Home, which was a half-hour sitcom with Michael Rappaport on Fox. It was on after The Simpsons. It was sort of a standard, family sitcom. And so I did that for maybe 4 months. And then as soon as Weeds sort of got picked up, I showered that show just to go back to Weeds. So.
Was this when Jason Bateman was I guess now he's sort of considered a pretty big star. Was he, what was his status back when you guys did a show together with him?
He was I guess he was a teen star. When he was a kid, he was on a bunch of shows like Silver Spoons, and he was a popular teen actor. And then for a little while, and then this show preceded Arrested Development. It was the season before Arrested Development. So we could have technically launched his comeback, but since they never aired us, it allowed him to go to Arrested Development, and then that sort of brought him back into mainstream spotlight, I guess, and it was all uphill from there.
Yeah, it's got, like you said, demoralizing. That's got to be one of those tilting fucking things ever. You do 9 episodes of a show, and then they're like showers. We're not airing this thing. That's it. It's not. And then you just sort of waste all this time, or you spend all this time doing this, and then nothing comes from it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that it is demoralizing, but at least you get paid for it. It sucks when that happens. It sucks most for the creator of the show. Because that's sort of it's their baby. They're the one who take the heat for everything. And, a lot of times it's not even the quality of the show that sometimes is the reason why it gets showered. Like in the case of this show, The Jake Effect, NBC had aired a couple. This was back in the day when most of the sitcoms were multi-camera. They were shot, with 4 cameras in a living room, that had sort of become popular again. And the single camera show, which was shot like a movie, is way more expensive to shoot than a multi-camera. So single cameras were not in fashion, and they just tried a couple single camera shows on NBC, and they were failing. So we were a single camera show, and then they decided, Jeff Zucker, who was head of NBC at the time, was like, all right, we're just going to cancel we're not even going to bother airing any single camera shows because single cameras are too expensive and we can't amortize them and make our money back with them as easily as we can multi-cameras. So sometimes it has little to do with the quality of the product and just has to do with a business model, and that was sort of the case here.
That sucks, I guess. So when something like that happens, like in future jobs, is it your, so are people like, hey, like, so you worked on this show, you did this, but it didn't air, like do they look at you with it's like a black mark on your resume sort of thing, or is it something that like the industry is sort of aware why the show might not have got aired, so it's like people understand like, oh, it's not because this, or like do they look down on you sort of thing because you worked with a show like that?
No, I mean, you're better off working on a show that never aired than on a show that was like, that you stayed on for like 4 years that was kind of not a respected show type of thing. You know, I would say that because, you know, people are credit snobs, kind of, even though they shouldn't be, because I've known so many writers that have been really talented but worked on shows that were considered lame or bad or whatever. And then, you're making a living, you're trying to, build a resume, but also have like a bit of a stable life. So it's not always very hard to get like a cool gig. There are very few shows that are sort of prestigious and coveted. So there's a lot of great writers that work on, lame shows for like a long time. So
isn't kind of your credit in that industry like what you build your resume off of? So it doesn't make sense. It makes sense why people would be sort of credit snobs, because like that's sort of how you prove you worked with this, or you worked with that, or you did this.
Yes, but it's a little unfair sometimes. I mean, it depends on your level of credit, and there are hierarchies of writers that happen on writing staffs. You start as a staff writer, and then whenever you see like a credit on a show of like story editor or co-producer, supervising producer, co-executive producers, that's basically like a ladder rankings for the hierarchy of writers. So, people think, oh, you're a producer, you're like a finance person. That's really more the case in feature films than it is in television. Television, like 90% of people that have a producing credit next to their name, it's just what level of writer you're at. In, where you fall in terms of experience level and then pay scale.
So when you're like executive producer for Weeds, that basically just means you were one of the head writers for the show?
Yeah, basically. Like I started as a co-producer, I think, on the show, and then by maybe season 5, I was an executive producer. But I wasn't the head writer. There was the creator of the show, Genji Cohen. She was the head writer. Then we had another executive producer who was an EP the whole run of the show, Roberto Benavides. So he kind of was like the number 2, and then I sort of became the number 3. Number 3 is kind of a really good gig to have, just because you're like up, but you're the load, kind of.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, like it's less pressure, it's less responsibility. I mean, a little money sometimes, but it's kind of a good gig to have.
So you work with this for eight fucking years, huh? 8. Like, so what is your day-to-day life in that situation? Is it you go to I don't even know. I can't even like make up what I think it might be, because I'm actually have no idea what it is.
I mean, that was a really well-run show. Roberto kind of ran the writer's room, and our hours were really good. We probably worked on average of like 10 in the morning till about 4:30, 5 o'clock. There's a point of diminishing return often in like TV writing, where on sitcoms, like multi-camera sitcoms, you'd be surprised that the hours are like insane. Like some of those shows that I worked on, The War at Home, even The Stones, I mean, we would work from like, 9:30 till like, midnight often. And, you would think that like you could do it quicker, but like oftentimes like on multi-camera shows, you have like rehearsals and run-throughs for filming that happens, and those happen sometimes at like 4 in the afternoon. So by the time you finish, your run-through, and then you get notes from like the network, then you don't start a rewrite until like 8 o'clock at night. So often you're there sometimes we're there till 2, 3 in the morning on those sitcoms. Whereas on a single camera show like Weeds, we don't have run-throughs. We didn't have table reads. Once we locked a script, we finished writing a script and it got locked into production, which was like 2 weeks before you end up filming the episode. There's not really too many changes that can go on, because you have to like we shot Monday to Friday, 12-hour days. So our production days are very long when you're filming. But as writers, we just lock a script and then the production team takes over. So sometimes writers have to be writers when it's like an episode that you wrote, like you have to be on set for that episode. So that's when your weeks are long, is when, if I wrote, episode 4 or whatever, season 2 is super long because I'm going to be on the set. I'm going to be making sure everything's going okay. If Mary Louise Parker isn't happy with a scene, you have to do rewrites on the fly kind of thing in those spots. So that was, that's sort of a different animal than being in the writer's room.
So there's some guy in the chat, Nicholas Burnett. He keeps talking about, I don't know, what is this guy talking about? I guess I'll ask you since he says the first 3 seasons of Weeds were almost exactly copying that woman's life, yet writers are still trying to take credit for this. Is this like a revelation, or what is this guy talking? I'm sure he's probably said this before in the past, something like that.
Wait, what? I have no idea. Just tell him to go fuck himself. I have no idea what this guy's.
Yeah. I think he's basically saying the idea was taken from someone's actual real life or something. I don't exactly know. I don't know what you're talking about, Nicholas. So if you want to,
all right. The show was not taken from anybody's real life. The show was, Genji came up with the show idea, and it was taken from nobody's life. So put that to rest. There's some woman out there who claimed it was based on her, but that was a crock of shit, truthfully. That's pretty absurd.
Basically, GFY, Nicholas, GFY, man. In the spirit of the podcast, GFY.
GFY, Nicholas.
So okay, so you worked with that for 8 years, and then what about? So when did that end? What year was that in? 2004.
So it ended in 2012. We wrapped in the summer of 2012. Yeah, that was the end of season.
So 2012 is 2015 now. Have you done any other work in the industry since then, or have you just been focused on playing poker?
GFY, bro. No, I've been playing a lot of poker. I've been working on projects too. I've written a few pilots since. Getting a pilot picked up is really, really tough. Your odds are just it's comparable to winning a poker tournament. It's really, really hard to do. You need everything to sort of go right. So I've been doing some writing. I have some projects going on, but it's it's a tough gig. It's a tough thing to get a show greenlit for pilot and then to series.
So that's actually is there so working on other shows in between, is that something you think is smart to do, or is it sort of just better to try to grind to get your potentially get your own show?
Like being on staff on different shows?
Correct. Yeah. Maybe doing something similar to Weeds, or doing something similar to shows you did in the past. Is there any value in that, or you think there's more value in just grinding it out and trying to get your own show?
It depends on your sort of depends on where you're at in life, I guess, or where your responsibilities are. Some people, if you have a family and so forth, then there's some stability in having a gig on a show. That ultimately you'll make more money, and you'll have a place to go every day. Writing pilots is it's more speculative. You can make money selling pilots and so forth, but you don't have a day job to go to, so you can be off doing whatever, like traveling, playing poker. I write in hotel rooms. I write on airplanes when I can. I've been juggling doing both, which is not easy. Truthfully, I thought it would be sort of easier than it would be, but it's you get in, poker's so fucking addictive. You get into playing tournaments, and they take several days, and then they consume your mind, and so then I have to put things on hold for a while, and then I get back into that, and then there's another tournament that comes up that's a good fun tournament to go to. So it's it's a bit of a juggle, but I'm probably going to cut back on my traveling for the next little while, actually, in poker, just because, I want to get my own show on the air. I have devoted a lot of time to poker. I accomplish things, luckily, in poker, sort of, so I don't really feel pressure for certain challenges in poker that much. I just love to play, and I have a good time doing it. But I really, kind of should devote a little more time to writing in the next couple years.
It seems pretty. I mean, I would imagine it takes a pretty high level of focus and creativity and to work on writing something at a super high level. And if you're playing poker for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, or you're tilted because you just lost a 10K buy-in, or you're tilted because of how a day went, and then you try to go back and you're trying to write, you're like, fuck this. Like, your focus is sort of all over the place, and you're traveling and you're in the hotel rooms, and it might, I mean, maybe that's the optimal setting for some writers, but I would imagine that's got to be challenging to put your best foot forward, put your best work on display in that sort of setting.
That's very hurtful, Joey.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because like I haven't gotten a pilot picked up, and obviously it's because I'm not putting my best foot forward, and you're telling me that my work sucks for the last 2 years, and that I'm basically been playing too much poker. And that's like, you hurt my feelings right now. I'm very sad about this. Why would you do that?
I don't know if it's your best work. I haven't read any of it myself. I can't know that for sure, kid.
No, you're right. Like, I mean, it depends. Like, like with writing, it's like there's an element of crapshoot to writing, like where sometimes you can write the best shit in like a short amount of time and it's like really good, and other times you could be stuck on something for 6 months and not know how to fix it, not know how to make it better. It's like, and it's torture. Like, writing is literally the most torturous thing imaginable, for me at least. Like, it's gotten very hard too, because certainly everybody's a critic. Like, before, when I started writing, there was like no like, Twitter and stuff and forums and shit, and like now everybody's a fucking critic. Everybody like will needle you. Like, I mean, I get so much needling from people in poker that the last 4 years of weeds were shitty and stuff like that, and it jumped the shark and blah blah blah. And it's like I have a pretty thick skin with stuff, but like ultimately it's like when you're writing stuff, it's like you're more aware now of being criticized and being under a microscope. So it gives like a level of anxiety to writing that wasn't there before when I like started. Like the anxiety I had was like, oh, is my agent gonna like this, or the network people gonna like it? Now I'm like, is the world gonna just fucking call me a moron, tell me this show sucks, this isn't funny, this is lame, like you put yourself, on full display, and it's stressful.
I mean, obviously, with the podcast I do, to some extent, you're putting yourself out there, and then I think the whole entire anxiety is very, very, I can definitely understand that 100%. Anytime you put yourself out there, people say some fucked up, they say some mean things a lot. And even if you're the strongest, I guess, self-confident person, is still going to affect you in some type of way. And I can imagine with that situation, I mean, that's on like there's millions of people watching that. So, or millions of people judging that. In poker, obviously, there's not millions of people, but in general, there's so many people watching and judging. And as you said, Twitter, everyone's a critic now. So it's not always going to be positive. I guess that's something, do you feel like some of the more successful, like, I guess the people who are writing like the more popular shows, like they sort of develop some sort of blockade for those things? Like they're just like, all right, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to embrace it. And whatever people say, I'm just going to tune it out, and they can actually tune it out pretty well.
I mean, I think they can go on social media that created shows and stuff because they can't stomach things. Like, even like David Lindelof like took a lot of flack for Lost, I think he like showered social media, and like it's absurd because like that show was just a phenomenon, but then of course when you disappoint people, you swallow a lot. So I mean, I feel like I might and so forth if I get a show picked up because we take the needles. I mean, really thick skin, but it's just, sometimes it's just like, it can be a little traumatizing and hurtful.
Do you do anything like publishing stories online or like a blog or something like that? Is there any, like, are you sharing work along the way? I guess, do you think that would be plus EV, or do you think that bad idea?
No, I think it's a bad idea, probably just because blogging seems like free work, so no thanks. Already, it's already hard enough to sort of, just sit down and actually write shit that I have to write. As far as like putting, like, you mean like sharing material on a blog?
I guess it's more just like, maybe if you come up with some idea that you feel like, might not be something you ever use in the future. Sort of like just maybe so let's say you have people that follow you on Twitter. Maybe they're from the industry, maybe they're fans, maybe they like your personality on Twitter. They might not know you're a writer. Like for me, I follow you on Twitter, but I don't know much about your writing. So for instance, if you were, you had some stories, like very short stories, maybe they're poker related, maybe they're other type of thing related. You just kind of shared that work, and then people in the industry are reading your stuff, or people who follow you get to read this. They get to, and like I don't know, maybe it could help get more exposure. It's like people are reminded that you're still a writer, and I'm not sure if that's an idea or not at all, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now in terms of ways to sort of,
ways to make a brand.
Ways to make what?
I want to build my brand.
I don't even know if it's
build my brand.
It's just like, I have no fucking, I don't know. I'm just thinking about ideas out loud right now.
It just seems like, I don't know. It's probably a good idea. Like I could have marketed, I guess I could market myself more, but I don't know. It just seems like, I go on Twitter for shits and giggles, and I play cards because I like playing poker, and and I'm a writer as a profession. So there's a lot of people that like have broken into the industry sort of via social media or blogging and so forth. That's actually become sort of a trend in the last bunch of years, where even like I get calls from like my agents and stuff where they're like, oh, you got to check out this guy's Instagram account. We just signed him. I got a phone call yesterday about an Instagram account that they want to like turn into a sitcom. And I'm just like, really? That's how it's going about now? Like, a guy posts funny pictures and all of a sudden he's going to get his own like network sitcom. But it's definitely a way to, get noticed, get attention, build a brand for yourself. This guy has like 5.5 million followers.
Wow.
And he's called the Fat Jewish. And I didn't know who he was. I don't know if you follow him or not, but I was a little insulted that they came to me with it, the Fat Jewish. They're like, oh, who could we think of to develop? Oh, Salsberg, Fat Jewish guy. Here we go. Perfect. Seems like a match. I'm like, yeah, so I don't know. It was kind of hilarious, actually. But
so wait, did they tell you this because they wanted you to write something for him, or what?
Wait, what?
Did they tell you this because they wanted you to write something for the Fat Jewish guy?
Yeah, they want me to meet him to possibly like develop a show for him.
And what'd you say?
And I'm like,
you don't want to do that?
I said, GFY, why do you come to me with this? Like, how insulting. and then I go on Instagram and I see he's got like a beard and he's like a fat Jewish guy. So I'm like, okay, we'd probably go into a room together and tell a show. Seems like an okay combo. But I don't know. I have no idea what kind of ideas this guy's thinking about or whatever. But it's just like an example of how somebody in social media is finding their way into the industry and making connections, via, Instagrams, even, Twitter accounts, like to get like hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff, because then they can like cross promote these guys too. Like this guy has like 5.5 million Instagram followers. If he gets a show on the air, then it's like built-in, built-in audience there on some level. So it's a good way to discover new talent, like you.
It's like, I can't compare myself to the guy with 5.5 million Instagram followers. We're in the poker world. The poker world is not that big. It's very small compared to most other genres and industries out there.
Right.
Are you? Yeah, Matt just asked, is he going to hold the book the whole time? Are you going to hold the book the whole time? It's pretty impressive. You can hold the book the entire time, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm promoting gambling for dummies. I told you that the best thing we can do is, get the novices to, give them misinformation, bad advice, that kind of stuff.
Have you had any sponsorship deals with any of the like WPT or any casinos or any sites or anything like that?
I had a patch deal for a little while with Seminole Hard Rock for their 10 million guarantees for the last couple of years, and otherwise, no. It's hard to get these sponsorship deals, I guess. Hopefully PokerStars will sponsor me in the near future, but otherwise, no. WPT
Why
doesn't.
would they sponsor you, kid? I mean, I think they should sponsor you. If they're going to sponsor another American,
I'm not even American. I'm Canadian by birth. So
yeah, I forgot. You're from. Where are you from in Canada? Montreal?
Yeah, from Montreal. Yeah.
Do you have a French Canadian accent?
You like one of those Canadian, PokerStars sponsored pros.
Do you have a French Canadian accent?
No, I shed it. I'm not French Canadian.
Oh.
I'm like an Anglo Canadian, but I can speak French if I have to. I like all the French Canadian poker players. They're all pretty cool.
Yeah. Can you do any accents? Can you do like a French Canadian accent?
Can I talk like John Damel? Maybe a little bit there. I don't know, but when I won the World Series of Poker, I stick a bad beat on Matt Affleck. I like fuck him his whole life, like turn around because of that, and my whole life also I turn around and like I had 2 jacks. He have like life-changing money there, and then like 4 years later I win the 1 drop again, and he like bust out a final table of some like 1,500, and at the same time I win the 1 drop, I win it all in, get lucky, and I don't know, my girlfriend off. She broke into my house and took my stuff and shit. I don't know.
I mean, I haven't had many conversations with French Canadians, but I'm imagining that's pretty much how it would go with Jonathan Duhamel.
Sorry, no offense.
I mean, that's what happened. I mean, you're stating.
I don't know how you randomly.
You're stating facts.
And I'm Neil Matt at the same time. What's that?
No, I said you're just stating facts, like what you said.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Can you imagine having a girlfriend who did that to you?
Did I have a girlfriend who ripped me off?
No, I said, can you imagine having a girlfriend who fucking tried ripping you off like that?
Yeah, that would be horrible. That I can't imagine what through there. I mean, it's just like it's so absurd. Yeah.
Do you have somebody like? Do you have like somebody you're married? Are you married, or you have a long-term girlfriend or anything like that?
No, I'm single. I did have a long-term girlfriend, but broke up a few years ago, and I'll leave it at that.
So what's that? So I think I saw something I read that I guess you're over 40, over 30. What's your how old are you?
I'm over 40.
Over 40. So
I'm over 40, 45.
So is LA basically one of the best places to be if you're over 40 in terms of dating?
Is it what?
Is LA one of the best places to live if you're over 40 and dating?
I don't know. It's not that easy in LA. Like you're kind of always worried on some level that people have like everybody's so focused on their career, and a lot of people sort of struggle in their careers and they sort of validate their self-worth based on their careers, and it's sort of a bizarre place where like that's really people's primary focus, and so dating isn't that easy because you're constantly like I've had like 4 serious girlfriends since I was like 30, I guess, and pretty much everybody was in the industry, and it kind of always became a challenge to sort of hold together a relationship with somebody that was struggling or trying to make it, and they became competitive with you and things like that. Like, it's not an easy thing. And there's so much, people compare each other to other people, and social media is like everybody puts up their, accomplishments and so forth. They put, trophies next to them and coffee table books next to them, promoting themselves, and, like, just total braggers. And it's really obnoxious that people do this. And it makes it, like, really hard for other people to sort of, have like a normal kind of relationship when people are constantly, making themselves out to look like douchebags and, proud, about their accomplishments. I mean, it's kind of absurd. Yeah.
So I guess this isn't your.
I would not.
What'd you say? Sorry.
No, it's not that I do that.
So some people in the chat are saying that they think you're very much trolling. How much do you think is of what you've been saying today is a troll, and how much do you think serious? I feel like it's like 80-20, 80% serious, like 20% some trolling.
I think it's sort of like poker, where you have to balance your sort of troll range.
Agree completely, actually. Agree completely.
So some people might think certain things are trolls, and then other thing, they might think I'm being serious. So like, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to balance the troll range, and one person's troll is another person's like, oh wow, that's really interesting and cool, serious. And yeah, I don't know. It's probably like 80% troll.
80% troll. That's what you think it is?
I don't know. No, maybe 50-50.
No, I don't, dude. No, I think it's more like 80-20, 80% serious, 20% troll. Come on.
The visual gags are serious, and what's coming out of my mouth are trolls. How's that? How's that for a level?
I think you're surprising anyone with that one. Come on. I think when you said Brian Hastings is a hero, you might have been trolling. I mean, you could have been serious. There are some people who think he's a hero. I mean, that could be a serious statement.
No, I think Brian is a hero. All right. I like Brian Hastings a lot, and I think he's a hero.
This is totally this is not related to Brian Hastings, but have you ever thought about, I guess obviously the answer is yes, but have you tried to come up with some sort of poker, I guess poker television shows have never worked really, but have you ever tried to come up with some sort of poker television show where the guy plays poker? Obviously the answer is yes, but.
I mean, I've had in various stages of development in the poker world. That's sort of why I started playing like higher stakes tournaments, is I sold a show about traveling poker players to Showtime, and I wanted to go sort of, I wanted to test the waters myself, but I also was like, okay, worst case scenario, I could write it off as research, mm-hmm. And then I started having success in it, so I sort of turned into like one of the characters that I was looking to research. And then I sold that show to Amazon. So that's actually no joke, not a troll. I have a show in development at Amazon about sort of, a writer who goes in to research the world of poker and sort of falls down a rabbit hole.
Really?
Yeah. And now and he's like 40 in the world of 20-year-olds.
So what's the potential of that actually happening?
Probably as good as like me winning the main event. So I would say pretty good shot. I probably like 5-1. I would say. I don't know. I mean, the odds of it are probably legitimately maybe like 25%, I'd say.
I mean, that from what you said earlier about getting a show picked up in the industry, that sounds like it's pretty. I'll take those odds when it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's in development with them, so they like the project. I'm doing a rewrite right now on it for them. They're, I don't know how many scripts they buy per year compared to how many they actually then greenlight, but my guess is they probably buy 100 scripts and probably make 25 of them, for all I know, or close. Maybe they buy 50 and make, so it would be fun to do a show in poker. Like, it would be
what's Amazon put out there that has been popular? I can't think of anything Amazon's done that's been a well-known show.
They have the show Transparent, which is like our sort of #1 breakout show. That's basically like, well, it's kind of like the Bruce Jenner story, but it's Jeffrey Tambor plays like a Jewish father who, who's basically been living his life as a man, but gets a sex change, or as he, in his life. And it's really well done.
I'll have to check it out. I mean, I know Amazon. Amazon obviously is one of the biggest names in the world. So I'm sure when they start putting shows into, when they start actually releasing shows, they're probably going to be, I would imagine, pretty popular and pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, they are well done. They have another show called Alpha House with John Goodman. They're competing with Netflix. They might not be on the same sort of scale as Netflix right now, but I think they're going to just pump out a lot of good shows. They have a really good creative team in place, and they've got money to put into shows an important thing. And the streaming world is really exciting for television because you can now sort of tell stories in different ways that you never really could. So I'm to try to get this thing made over there.
Yeah, I think. Do you think that streaming like Amazon, Netflix is going to be the future of that industry, or do you think that television, the premium channels, will always be competing with Netflix and Amazon and maybe Yahoo? I guess Yahoo's put out some shows. I've watched a couple of them before.
Yeah, Hulu also is investing a lot of money into content. I think they're all going to be on the same level in terms of quality, in terms of numbers. Even they're just they're just going to become, they're like HBO and Showtime basically. They're just opening up the market for those kinds of shows, which is because what it really does is it makes sophistication level of television just go up and up. That's the other thing that's become challenging too, is premium cable like HBO and Showtime really sort of made TV go up several notches in terms of sophistication and taste because of how real they were able to make shows. 20 years ago, there were, not that many broadcast networks, and they had all these standards for content that they had to adhere to because of advertisers and so forth. So you couldn't be vulgar, you couldn't be real, you couldn't be graphic, you couldn't explore certain things like taboo topics. And now, really you're doing things that are just very real and very mature. And it just keeps upping the game in TV.
So, man, I'm trying to think. So I guess from your perspective, how can you keep getting better? How can you improve your ability in writing? Is it something that you can actively work on, or is it something you sort of just have?
I don't know. I'm trying to. I see. When you start out writing, you have no fear because you just kind of don't really know what you're doing, and you crank things out. But then, having been a sort of writer for 15 years, I'm aware of all the pitfalls, which make it that much more difficult to just crank out material quickly because you sort of you sort of hinder yourself because you censor yourself, you hinder yourself. You're like, oh no, okay, I can't really do that. I know that. So then the process actually takes a lot longer now than it used to. I used to be able to write a script in like 4 or 5 days. Now, like if I write a script in like 2 months, I feel like it's like an insane accomplishment, just because of, I know all the mistakes. The level of quality has gone up. So I'm like, I can't get away with like shitty jokes. I can't get away with like laziness and, lazy storytelling and just kind of, everything has to be really, really perfect, because I know what it's like to sort of, have material ready to and up to industry standards. So to be up to the standard just requires like an insane amount of brain power and work, and it's very hard to do.
Yeah, I can imagine the anxiety, as you spoke about earlier, is probably pretty. I imagine it's pretty high all the time when you're writing. If like price a lot, a lot.
Yeah, that's why I like poker. Like, poker really like the polar opposite of writing in the sense that it's like, it's similar in terms. It's weirdly similar in terms of like numbers, where like, okay, if you win a tournament, you like make a lot of money. And you can do it in 4 days, whereas like you write a script in itself, you can make a decent amount of money, but it takes like so long to like brainstorm an idea, write it, crank it out, then like actually sell it and so forth. So at least poker, your fate right away. Like, in writing, you just like it's like being slow rolled. That's what it's like. It's like literally being slow rolled for months on end, where you just don't know your fate. You're like, I got a shot here, maybe I'm gonna win, but like, oh my God, I'm being slow rolled for like a year sometimes, or 2 years. Like I've had so many pilots that were slow rolled, and it's torture. Whereas at least poker, like you put your money in, you win, you lose. It's like, yeah, you take your beats, but at least it's like, your fate right away and you accept it and you move on.
So have you ever thought about getting out of that industry and sort of pursuing poker full time, or pursuing something? I mean, at this, like, I guess you're really too far invested in the industry now. It's like, why give up now? Why not keep working at it until you like try to bing something in there? I guess try to bing something. I feel like you've already had success though. So it's, what I mean? Like, have you ever thought about just getting out of the industry completely?
If I won the main event, it would, make a big difference type of thing in terms of like, all right, obviously money, and then like potential like more poker opportunities from something like that could come up, where I would then just be able to play poker, for like probably, a long stretch or whatever the rest of my life. But I honestly don't think poker is necessarily a great thing to do full time. I think it's like a great hobby to have, and I think if you have like another stream of income that you don't have to pressure in poker, like from downswings and volatility, that like it's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And if you don't have to do it, then I would advise people not to do it, just because also like keeping a balance in your life is also really important, I think, too. So I like having multiple things going on in my life. I like having that balance. I like writing for like a 2-week stretch and then being tired from that. So then I go play a tournament for 4 days or something. It's like a welcome break. I think too much of either becomes a complete grind, where you can burn out really quickly from both of them. Like 8 years on weeds was very I kind of got burnt out after probably 4 years of weeds. And then if you look at like my Hendon mob, and then my schedule from weeds, it's kind of funny where like starting in like 2011, like I started having all these like poker results, and then weeds ended in like 2012, and I would probably say that like my burnout from weeds kind of like I started getting more into poker because I was getting kind of burnt out from weeds. I started caring about it more, playing more. Like I always played, but I just got more into it because I was pretty fried, and it uses like a different part of your brain, and I almost think it was like some sort of like brain chemistry balance to like the creative part of my brain, needed like some kind of break, and then the math part and the anxiety part was sort of like relieved from gambling, basically. You know, even though poker's not gambling, right? We don't want to ever say that. Poker's a skill game. But yeah.
So where do you
I
feel
think
like
it's important that you have balance?
Where do you feel like you're at right now with things? Do you feel like you're maybe getting a little, especially after World Series of Poker, do you feel like you're getting burnt out with poker, or do you think that you're still?
I mean, I had a terrible World Series this year. It was like I ran very bad. I didn't play my best, I don't think, but when you run bad and then, you know, it's sometimes hard to gauge your play because if you're not winning important pots where you should, then it totally fucks with your mind, you know, a lot. And so I ran bad. I had a couple deep runs here and there, and then, you know, didn't work out down the stretch. And then when you run bad and then you're losing, then you end up, at least me, I end up then chasing and playing more. And then, so I went like probably like a 2.5 week stretch without a day off, you know, and then your mind is literally going like nuts, where you're just going, you know, you're looking at like, okay, where's the next tournament? Where can I, you know, try to hit, you know, make a score or hit something before the summer's over. And then it just kind of turns into like this like vortex of poker. And then when, you know, by the end of it, like I was just like, get me the fuck out of Vegas. Like, please, I never want to leave my house again. I just want to curl up in a ball and like, just like not play poker, you know, and just like, just relax, you know, get some other shit going on. But then, you know, 2 weeks go by and you start doing other things like cards again. You know, that happened. I wasn't going to go to Chalkdown, and then I end up kind of going just because I'm like, well, it's a $2 million guarantee and it's kind of soft, and you start to justify these things, you know, in your mind, where 2 weeks earlier I was like, I'm not traveling for 6 months, you know, but I end up doing it because, you know, I'm a sicko at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think one of like the biggest, you mentioned running bad. It's sort of like playing your A game during those time stretches. I mean, I mainly play primarily PLO cash, and you know, you run bad for long stretches of time at PLO cash. So it's sort of, you know, understanding that you're running bad and not letting it affect you. I feel like the players who have the most success are able to sort of understand that. And there's a lot of players who just can't. You know, they can't sort of get their head. They're running bad, but then they think they're playing bad when in reality they might be playing well. But then it's like, how do you gauge that? How can you understand that? And that's sort of where the challenge comes in as a poker player, is being able to identify each of those properly and still play your A game when you're going through a downswing or you're going through a period of you're running bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to really sort of narrow down and figure out, and then. I mean, obviously, I've been playing for a long time. I've had many, many long stretches of run bad and downswings, and then I've had like, you know, stretches of upswings and so forth. And you know, there was a period of like 3 years, I'd say from like 2011 to 2014, where for the most part I was like consistently doing pretty well. I had like a few like several months of like really bad stretches, but then I would like hit something that would like sort of wipe those out, which is very key, you know. This year, 2015, has been a really long sort of, you know, bad stretch for me in terms of results. I've been trying to think of if I'm playing bad or not, but like there are spots where like you make a mistake here and there, and then it ends up biting you in the end to recover from it. But ultimately, I think I'm playing like just, you know, it's poker. It's variance, and obviously, like, you know, there's stretches where like you run good and you don't think about it in those times because you're just like, things are going well, things are going smooth. Yeah, and I kind of marvel at having been doing this now, let's say basically for 3 years or 4 years. The amount of resilience that you have to have as a poker player to weather these kinds of, you know, run bad stretches is amazing. And I give a lot of credit to like people who do, you know, I guess you don't really have a choice. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just have to roll with it. But it's it's a tough thing, and the thing is, like, you never know when it turns around too. That's the thing. Like when I won in Paris, like I had been on this like a 2.5 month stretch where, I mean, I was running so poorly and I was very demoralized because I'd been playing well, and I was walking on the Champs-Elysees in Paris the day before this tournament. A couple poker players, Will the Thrill and Mike, in a cafe, and I sat down with them, and they kind of gave me this pep talk. Micah was like, Micah's crazy, and he's just all like, dude, you just got to will the cards. You just got to like think positive and everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking too negatively, and I'm a downer and all this shit. And so I go, and I 15 minutes, literally lose 25 of my 30 the first 15 minutes. And I text my girlfriend, I'm like, I just want to fucking kill myself. I just like made a horrific hero call. I'm almost out. I don't know what, this is just a nightmare. And then I won a hand and I doubled up, and then I like in a spot off, and I had a tough table for Paris where I had Dan Smith on my table, and it was like a lot of French people, but then there's like maybe like 25 pros. So my table's given the field, and I double up off Vanessa, so I get like up to like 40,000 from like 6K by like the end of level like 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden I just start thinking really positively, and I started running really good. And then I won the tournament. Like in the blink of an eye, you go from just being like on to all of a sudden. That kind of sparked like a heater. I won the POI that year. I got a bunch of final tables on the World Poker Tour. Like it just like you never know when streaks come. You never know what the fuck is going to turn it around. I don't know if it's obviously random. I guess things where when the beats come, they come in heaps, and then maybe when the run good comes, it comes in good stretches too.
Yeah, I mean, I think tournaments I've never really played tournaments, so I mean, tournament world's weird. Like, you win a tournament, you're the fucking man. Like, everyone wants to be your friend. Like, oh, hey, bro, you want to, like, come hang out with us. You won the tournament. But when you're, like, the tournament world is just, it's a unique place, man. It's a fun, unique place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince Anthony Zeno to retire right now. I think like what he's done is like so absurdly amazing that I want to bring him to LA, and I want to open up. I basically want him to retire and stand stud like a racehorse, where basically we have him have sex with single women from LA, like charge a $50,000 stud fee, and just basically like market his genius run. Here you've got sperm from this like nice looking Italian guy who's a genius, and don't get knocked up by some loser. Give us 50 grand a pop. Let's make little Xenos.
Yeah,
that's my next business idea.
I think I got a little up close experience about that. So I was living in Vidara during the series, and I came downstairs and I see Xena standing there talking to some old woman, and like I guess her daughter, like a blonde, like a pretty attractive foreign Russian, something like that. And I stopped it because I just talked to him I talked to him briefly before that. I'm like, what's happening here? And I'm having a discussion with maybe I wingmanned it. I started having a discussion with the old lady there, and then he's just like talking to this woman. I'm like, are you like his mom? Like, who are you? And like, oh, we just met here in the lobby. And she's like talking about real estate, and he's got this like low key stud appeal to him. So I think your idea could work pretty well.
He's a stud. Make no mistakes. Any single women watching out here, will make love to you over and over again. And for $50,000, if you want a baby, let's talk numbers.
Do you have a poker crush, a female poker player that you adore the most, more than anybody else?
Do I have a poker crush? I don't know. I have a lot of female friends in poker. You know, I kind of have a crush on Vanessa Selbst. You know, she's really like her aggressiveness it's a turn on to me. I played with her the other day in Choctaw, and she was on my right, and we were playing hands together. And man, I was like, I get excited when I play hands with Vanessa Selbst. Like, she's just like, you know, she's very like, she just gets me going.
Yeah, Vanessa Selbst used to be my favorite poker crush, but you know, I think a poker crush has to be somebody that you can actually get one day, and I just don't think I can realistically get with Vanessa Selbst at any point in time. I mean, obviously she, at the current moment in time,
Right.
she's dating a woman. That's a slight hurdle for me to overcome. So, yeah, I think I have a new poker crush. I think.
Who? Kate Hall?
Is Kate Hall your poker crush?
I met Kate Hall this year during the World Series. She's very cute. You know, she's seems like a very smart young lady. I watched some of the podcasts yesterday. I didn't know she was a lawyer. Yeah, here's a problem with poker crushes. Every single guy in poker has a crush on every girl that comes into poker. So what ends up happening is, it's like you have a crush on some girl in poker, and then all of a sudden, literally every guy's pouncing on her, trying to hit it, trying to date her, whatever it is. And, you know, you have to compete for attention, affection, all sorts of things. So I don't know. It just seems like a more advantageous place for a girl to be in than a guy.
Oh, that was exactly my thing. That I pretty much said the exact same thing to a friend this summer. And I was at World Series, and I may or may not have engaged in some activities with some, you know, women that might have been. Shout out to the stalkers, by the way, who are going to take that information and use it against me in the future. And then I've noticed, they're like, there's all the guys on Twitter like taking shots. The guys in real life, it's just like, fuck, man. Like, this is like, you know, I don't want to be involved in this really. And obviously, as a woman, it's perfect because you get every dude hitting on you. You get like, what kind of guy do you like? Because they're all going to hit on you. So it's kind of like you get to take your pick of the dudes. And yeah, it's interesting for sure.
It's like sort of being on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, basically, where, you know, it's like just going to be like cutthroat competition. And, you know, and then if it doesn't like end well or something, then it's like an office romance where you have to like see the person all the time. So probably not a good idea to get involved like with people in the poker world. I mean, obviously it's like system and it can be fun and so forth. Like, you know who's a genius? Seth Berger. You know Seth?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so Seth is now having a baby with Jeannie Duffy, the royal flush girl. Like, just I don't know, however many months he knocked out. Seth he did the smart thing. Like, he just like, that was it. He just like, he knows like she's a royal flush girl, she's gonna be popular. You know, how do I not deal with the competition? All right, so now they're having a baby together. Brilliant move by Seth Berger.
Wait a sec, that's some sick fucking GTO right there. So you just get the girl pregnant, and that would be your way to sort of like.
Yeah, he locked her up. He literally now is bonded to her for life, you know, and he's a nice kid. I love Jeannie, and you know, I hope they live happily ever after. But that's like, you know, he did what he had to do. He just, you know, he went all in.
He literally went all in. Bang, bang, he went all in. And then, what are these comments? Joey, do you still do live webcam show on Chatterbait with Ebony Kenny? That was my backup plan. What'd you say?
Do I what with Ebony?
No, someone asked me if I still do a Chatterbait show with Ebony Kenny.
Oh, no, you don't do that, do you? That'd be amazing.
Well, my backup plan with Ebony was always we would do a Chatterbait show, and oh, hello, welcome to the room.
Hi.
Do you want to say hello? Do you want to make an appearance?
Hello.
Do you want to talk some? Do you want to talk language? You don't have to make an appearance. You don't know the stalkers are gonna get mad. They're already gonna get mad now. You can just say hello. Say something. Say something in your language.
In my language?
Yeah.
Wait, what do we got here?
Kann ich mit wem ich rede, aber ist ja egal.
Friend, do you speak German, Matt?
No.
Oh well. Yeah. Too bad. Yeah. No, it's with a friend. Friend happened to be in the apartment I'm in right now, and yeah, she had to get something out of the apartment. So, guys, in the chat, we'll take some questions. Go ahead. We'll take questions, comments.
Why don't we see
What do you say?
Hold on. Why don't we see what this girl looks like?
What are you doing? No, I don't know. It might be. We'll take some questions from the chat, guys. We'll let the chat. One question is that roll on the. What the hell? Get her to say hi. You want to say hello?
No.
Come say hi.
Hi.
The stalkers are gonna be so fucking mad if they're watching this right now. Come on, come say hi. It's fine.
Hello.
Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Oh, hello.
That's Matt. That's Matt right
How are
there.
you?
Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Do you want to
Nice
talk
to
to
meet
him?
you too.
You want to be a Hollywood star?
Where are you from?
You want to be a Hollywood star?
Yeah, of course.
Very cool.
Is that something you've said in the past? Is that actually a thing?
I mean, we got to use what we have, right? No, I mean, it's kind of a. You would think that people do that, and I'm sure people do. But no, I kind of. I wish I had that clout. I don't have that clout.
It'd be cool if you could actually, like, I mean, you see that in movies sometimes, but
It's like this myth. Like Andy Frankenberger asked me one day. He goes, "So, like, are you pulling the I can make you a star thing with like that?" And I mean, no, I don't do it. I think it's kind of funny that people think that. Like, I can't imagine, like, I know obviously it goes on, but it's so not my nature to sort of do that. I mean, like, I don't know. This whole Bill Cosby thing is crazy when you think about it, where, like, Cosby was literally the biggest star in the world, and he, like, is resorting to roofing women to have sex with, Like you would think he wouldn't need to do that.
right, yeah. I mean, this was back in the day when he was younger too. Now he's old, but he was young still then. I don't think he'd have to, resort to doing it.
I know, right? You wouldn't think he had to, but I mean, he did apparently, and apparently, like, that was like, now maybe it was like some sickness where he like preferred they were like inanimate when he was having sex with them, but I don't know. It just like. Using your like status to like try to lure chicks is ultimately it's counterproductive. Obviously, okay, maybe for like the occasional like hookup, you could do it, but like I don't know. I'm like more a relationship person, so I don't get involved with somebody if I think they're anything to hang out with me for any other reason. So.
I guess, do you feel like you were always that way, or is that something that sort of came when you got older?
Like, I couldn't throw it around when I was little. No. Like when I was younger, it's not like when I was a struggling writer and I'm in my like 20s and stuff, and, you're like more about like having fun and like messing around at that age. Ability to like throw around like, oh, hey, I can make you a star type of thing, because I couldn't even make myself a star. I couldn't even like afford to eat. But then and then as you age, you mature, and then like you prefer like real relationships with people, not like superficial relationships. So your priorities are just very different.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get that way in my own life. to some extent, but I'm not quite there yet.
So who's this German girl?
A friend I happen to, a friend.
Okay, all right.
I actually met an older Japanese woman earlier today in the hotel lobby.
Really?
Yeah, she's an English teacher. She teaches English in a part of Germany. And I mean, honestly, like, the Japanese people, they look young, but like she looked older, but she was kind of cool. She's in shape, like, and she invited me to Hamburg and,
Where are you now?
What do you say?
Where are you now?
I'm in Germany. I'm in Dortmund, Germany right now.
Okay. And why are you in Germany? Just for the hell of it?
I went to a music festival in Belgium called Tomorrowland, and then I decided my friend's from Germany, so I took a train over to Dusseldorf, and we hung out for a little bit, and now we're in Dortmund, and it's been interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, guys in the chat, give me some questions. Give me some questions for Matt, and then we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna get some food because I'm getting hungry here. Let's see. Matt, do you have any? If you could suggest 2 podcast guests that I should have on in the future that you think would be fun or entertaining, who would you recommend?
Fun and entertaining. Poker people are really very unentertaining. Joe Keither would be pretty funny, I think. He doesn't get in front of the camera much, but I think he would be a good person to have for that reason. And I don't know who else. Mo Charania is a good friend of mine. He's kind of hilarious. I don't know if you've ever had him on, but he's a fun person to just chat with.
Okay. I think did Joe used to play on PokerStars before?
Did Joe play on what? Full Tilt?
On PokerStars. Is he Ender like 23321 or something like that? Was that his star screen name?
I don't know. He was the funny man on Full Tilt. I don't know what his star's name is. I think also the same, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm not sure. There was a guy that used to play PLO that I thought that might be him, but I might have just had the name wrong.
No, he's a no limit player.
Oh, okay. Show of force. Daniel says, does Matt feel he got complacent at any point, and from that point on lost momentum, and got hard to get back on it regarding his career / craft?
Who asked this?
Show of force, Daniel.
GFY. Have I gotten complacent? Well, I definitely played a lot of poker, so one could argue if I, wasn't playing cards and I was writing more that maybe, here right now. But who knows? It's the business. It takes a lot of mental energy to run a show. First of all, to write a pilot is hard. Then to, make a show and have it go is really, really tough, and it's exhausting. And try not to think about whether or not I've been complacent. I just kind of do what it is I think is right at the time, like my own energy expenditure and pacing myself. And, a weird experience in poker, having gotten in winning player of the year and then getting to travel for a couple of years, which I don't think I would ever change, such as, there were a lot of great things there, but it also, kind of was, it impacted my life in a lot of ways too, not necessarily for the better. So, but at the same time, it is what it is. So I can't really say that I've been, I feel like I've been complacent or lost momentum. I I just, there's a lot of writers too where, all they do their whole career is sit in a writer's room and they don't get any experiences beyond that. So they're always like making things up, or they're going from show to show, they're hopping, and they don't get any like real life experience. And I feel like in a lot of ways, this might actually be more beneficial to my long-term growth than, not done it and having just cranked out script after script. In a lot of ways, like there's sort of a weird like mystique to me in some ways in Hollywood too, where they're like, whoa, Salsberg like all of a sudden won like, player of the year. Like, why isn't, can we get him to do a project for us? And my agents are like, no, he's busy doing something else. So then they kind of want you more almost sometimes too, as opposed to like those writers that like constantly they go to time and time again, so it sort of works both ways. I don't know. But I'm trying to get it all sort of, back to a good place and get back to the place where I really enjoy writing too and have fun with it. And I've got some exciting projects in development that I'm excited to like, write and stuff. So I feel good about it all.
I think you made a good point about this might actually better your long-term growth, like having these experiences, traveling to these places, going through the ups and downs, meeting the people in the poker industry. It sort of gives you a different perspective to sort of create an idea, create a narrative, and might give you an edge actually, as you said, in the long run. So that's I think that's a great way to look at it too, because you're sort of embracing the path you've chosen and then sort of figuring out a way to use it to your benefit in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And like when I sort of started this journey, like, I was on the fence about having kids and a family and stuff like that. I really didn't know if I wanted them, and sort of throughout this experience of like being on the road and a lot and having a relationship sort of like come to an end that was like long term, I sort of realized like that maybe I'm at a place in my life where I do want that, and this journey sort of helped me figure that out too. Because sort of like you learn to appreciate certain things that you maybe took for granted before, or recognize what it is in life that's important. Winning money is winning money, losing money is losing money, but like having like a good home base is like a really important thing to sort of have, I think, and it's something that like I might not have recognized had I just not had this adventure.
So is that something, I guess, that you're looking for now? You're trying to find, or you're open to the idea, whereas before you were closed off to the idea?
I mean, I was never closed off to the idea. I just didn't really know. It wasn't like I 100% knew. I always thought there would come a time when I would know, and maybe had like, I'd still been in a relationship, I would be ready anyway right now. I don't know that for sure, but definitely like, I recognize the trade-offs, like there's a lot of trade-offs to being in a relationship and being, able to just do as you please too. And I know so many people in relationships that wish they could be single, and then I know people that are single that want relationships, and it's just like sort of double-edged sword, grass is greener kind of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I ultimately think we're kind of doomed either way. It's like we're just kind of doomed either way. But I think that like maybe the rewards are like, if you have a family, that's probably pretty rewarding at the end of the day, even though it's like hard and difficult and stressful and
Well, I gotta say, I'm enjoying being single, Poppy. I'm not doomed. I'm not doomed in the current road I'm on right now. So I'm gonna enjoy my single life for as long as I can, and then once I decide to get
Yeah, you're young though. How old are you?
I just turned 30.
Yeah, I mean that's a time when you should be, and I've been through that, and I don't mind being single now because there's trade-offs, like I said. But like at the end of the day, too, it's the experience basically kind of was a good one for me to sort of figure out ultimately what I want.
Yeah, man, I've been thinking about this subject a lot. So this is something that's Okay, so I think I got everything here pretty much. What are your plans for the rest of the year? Poker plans? Are you doing any traveling? EBT Barcelona or the Seminole Hard Rock? I think is going on right now too.
I'm definitely not going to Barcelona. I'm likely not going to Seminole Hard Rock. There's a tournament in Arizona that weekend, which is like a lot closer that I could go to like Saturday morning. It's like an hour flight from LA. There's no time change. I think the Seminole Hard Rock's going to have an overlay, so I might buy pieces, there. So if anybody's selling that's good, maybe hit me up. But I kind of, like I said, after the World Series, I was like burnt out. I feel like, it's a long way to go for a freeze out. If there was a re-entry, I'd probably be a little more inclined. But for a freeze out, it's kind of to travel across the country. I kind of don't think I'm going to do it. But you never know. I'm a sicko, so I'll be too tempted because it's a big one and it's a big prize pool. And but as of right now, I don't have a plan for that. And then I have no other plans for the rest of the year. I'm just kind of trying to focus on writing. I'll take poker trips when they happen. The Legends main event is in LA, which is at the end of the month anyway. So I get my WPT fix locally at the end of the month, which is perfect. And then, there's like that Borgata, Maryland, couple WPTs that are sort of back to back. Borgata is tough for me because it's during the week, and I sort of said to myself, all right, the weekend getaway is easy, but when they start on a Sunday or a Monday and they're going to take up the whole week, it just sort of throws a monkey wrench into my week, like for writing. So it's probably not a lot going on there. But I'm intrigued to go to Berlin possibly, if that could happen for the World Series. And then I do want to go to Australia. That's sort of been my next eye on a poker trip, which is in January. But
yeah, January.
Yeah, but I've never been. I've been to PCA 4 times, and I'm probably stuck like $300K at PCA. So I never want to go back there ever again. It's just a demoralizing week. By the end of it, it's nice, it's fun, but it's just kind of I've gotten stuck there. So I'll be like, okay, Australia's untested waters here. Let's maybe go there.
Fuck, man, that flight to Australia is so goddamn long. From LA, it's like still 17 hours or something insane.
Yeah, but LA is not even LA is decent compared to some other places that are going to Australia. But I guess, yeah, but I want to do it. It's like something I've never been to Australia. I've heard amazing things. I heard the tournament's really fun and soft. And so, even I think Darren Rabinowitz got 4th in it. And, he's an abomination at the table. So it's got to be, easy to, final table that thing.
Yo, shout out to Darren, by the way, if he's still listening. But I don't know about his tournament ability, so I can't speak on that. I'm going to take your word for it.
He has no patience. He's just he's just all over the place.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Oh, yeah, sleeping pills, obviously, on flights is probably going to be GTO. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I'll be back on Monday with my chess partner, Jen Chahade. And Matt, you have anything else to add right now, Poppy? Is that it?
No, that's it. Great chatting with you. Maybe we'll get to play one day. We never played together.
Yeah, I don't play many tournaments. I think that one time I saw you, I was playing a PLO tournament, and I've only played PLO tournaments. I've never played any really no limit tournaments before.
Really? You just hate no limit?
Well, I played no limit for my first 3 or 4 years online. I played a bunch of millions of hands of cash games, but then I switched to PLO, and I pretty much just played PLO primarily since then.
Gotcha.
The best game.
All right, well, maybe we'll go hiking together.
We'll go hiking?
Yeah.
Oh, of course I'm in for hiking. That sounds like fun.
All right, great. We'll have a picnic at the top of the hill.
Well, the picnic, if we find a couple other females to come with us, we'll definitely have some sort of picnic.
Why do we need girls, bro?
You want to have you and me want to have a picnic together?
Yeah.
What What are we eating in the picnic?
Sandwiches.
Okay.
Tuna sandwiches.
What's your favorite sandwich?
Tuna.
I mean, we got to bring some peanut butter and jelly for me, but I mean, I'm definitely in for a little sandwiches in the mountains, maybe like
Who doesn't love a tuna sandwich?
We'll figure this out more.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Much love. Be back Monday.
Right.
If you want to follow Matt on Twitter, it's @msalsberg. Me on Twitter, I already know what it is. That's it. Peace out. Much love. Adios. Cola moza.
Peace. Adios.